Hey, everybody. Welcome to Why I Rise. My co-host seems to vanish. I don't know where the heck.
Hello. Hello.
Jim, you are here. Hey, what's going on? Hey, Jim, we have a great guest today. She's very well-rounded in everything we talk about. It's Kim DeLiema. Did I say it right? DeLiema.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty good. DeLiema.
DeLiema, is that Italian?
We get asked that all the time. Not really, but maybe somewhere along the lines.
I'm sure there's some Italian in there.
Yeah. Sounds like
I mean, those people are everywhere, Vinny, right? You, me?
Yes, you can. Right. Anyway, so Kim's a dedicated licensed clinical therapist, and she's got all this experience in digestive health and liver disease issues. And we've been, Jam, you and I have been talking on Why I Rise about, the physical manifestations of certain things and how it can help or hurt Parkinson's. Of course, Kim can tell us, what we could do better and to make, because everything about Why I Rise is today could be the best day you've ever had. And let's try to, strive to make it that. So Kim, I was wondering, we were chatting before about sugar, and JM is self-admittedly a sugar addict. I struggle with staying away from it. I just love sitting in front of the TV and eating Raisinets. So
that's a totally movie hall junkie right there. You just showed your age.
I know, huh?
And where you were raised, in the theater.
And I still buy them. But anyway, so although I shouldn't. So Kim, I'm wondering if you can just touch a little bit on, and please expand into the other areas. One of the things Jam and I like to do is not know our guests. We don't have an overwhelming experience with you, because we like to discover the things and be spontaneous to to react to what your expertise is and your view of things. And also, it's very important to say Kim's dad has Parkinson's, so she's been a caregiver. And so she's very well-rounded. This is a great guest to have on. I can't wait for this discussion. But I'd like to start with sugar. And we all know sugar, no matter what your health is, doesn't help it along. It's derogatory, if that's the right word, or it hurts. So sugar, we should really cut it all out, shouldn't we?
Yeah. I mean, look, as much as you can, if you want to really, just like most of the things we try and eat, it's asking yourself, did it come from the ground? Did it come from the earth? If your source of sugar is in its raw form, if it's from whole foods, if it's from fruit, I wouldn't want people to be afraid of that. I think even fruit, unfortunately, has gotten mixed up in stay away from it. And it's not really, if you're a healthy individual, and even if you're not a healthy individual, I can guarantee you, if you pick 1 to 2 fruits a day over the processed sugary products, you would, over probably just a course of a week or two, start to notice a shift in a couple things, which, when you're prioritizing whole foods, which would have, fiber in it, if you took fruit and the skin of a fruit and what that can do for your body, and you prioritize some vegetables and you fill up on vegetables and protein first, those are ways to help satiate your body. And then throughout the course of a week or two, you would probably notice that perhaps some of the things that, we were talking about, inflammation in the body and how that presents, that could look like a variety of things. For a lot of people, it's that puffiness, it's the feeling of being bloated, it's even coming out in ways like rashes, itchy skin, things like that. The color of your skin, on your face, blotchiness or acne, or things like that, are oftentimes related to the inflammation in your body. So I've had people do this where they start to reduce their sugar, and they aim for about 10 to 15 grams of sugar per day. That it means reading your labels, what's hiding in your salad dressings, what's in your ketchup. If you guys eat ketchup, it's shocking how much sugar is in just a few teaspoons and tablespoons, and that quickly adds up without even knowing you're thinking about it. And when you start to reduce that, you will notice that your body will kind of shrink down. Your face might not be as bloated. Your rings might fit better. Usually you can start to see and feel these shifts within 7 to 14 days when you simply take sugar in all the different forms, and you start to just cut back on it. And there is, of course, kind of that detox period when you do this. So if either of you were to say, all right, I'm going to really kind of cut that out, I'm going to get rid of the raisins, I'm not going to have that candy, you would probably in the first few days notice maybe some headaches. You would probably have a little bit low energy. These are common symptoms, but they don't last long. And once you're past it, you just start to feel so good. And it's one of those things I tell people, because I work with a lot of my patients in the space of health and wellness and even weight loss, because they need to for a variety of health reasons. And, you know, I would say to them, if you were an alcoholic or you had a drug problem, I wouldn't tell you to keep that in your house, right? I wouldn't say you're trying to be sober. Let's just go ahead and put that bottle of vodka right here and just don't touch it. Or, you know, whatever else is the drug of choice. So when it comes to sugar, the first step for anybody struggling is to simply remove it from your house, right? So when you
Let
sit
me ask you a
down,
question. Let me ask you a question, because
yeah,
that's genius. And I also know that you touched upon, like, I don't know if you said it or I heard it in my head, but diabetes. Now a lot of the research that's going on is like, is diabetes type 3, I think it is, a precursor to Parkinson's. But also, most people don't realize that milk has sugar in it. And you think about all the
oh,
kids that are, oh,
yes,
I'm not dairy intolerant. Yeah, but you're also pounding sugar in
right.
there as well. And it's like, that's almost like, it's not hidden sugar, but it's why sugar come from the grass to the cow to the,
You know, here's the thing, it shouldn't, right? If we're looking at a true form of, if you get it from the cow and you pasteurize it and you produce it, that's going to be a whole lot different than what we go into the store and we buy out of a carton. Now, of course, we live in a world where it's not always possible for us to grow and absorb everything from our own land. Very few of us can do that. So that's where the work comes in. And it's spending a little extra time in the grocery store. And it is amazing if you take 2 cartons of milk and you flip it to the ingredient list and you read it. And it's shocking to see that some will have so many more additives or sugars than others. Same with yogurt. That's one of my favorites to point out to people. It's mind blowing that certain yogurt in a serving can have like 18 grams of sugar. Why? We don't need it, but it's because of the way the food industry wants things to be enticing and to taste a certain way. So it does become addictive because that's what sugar does. So it is a matter of reading your labels. And I think we were talking earlier about the things that actually get us kind of annoyed, right? Like you were saying that the
oh, you mean
charge
our new ad to the show, which is called Sour Gripes?
sour gripes. So it just made me think about what mine is. And that is the fact that, you know, we have to pay so much more money to get the products that are better for us, have less junk in them. And that drives me absolutely crazy because my grocery bill is probably 3 times the amount of the average person because of the things I'm choosing to purchase. And not everything is organic either, but I try my best, right? And I also follow personally an anti-inflammatory way of living because I have GI just sensitivities. My son, who's now 10, from infancy through being a toddler, always had GI problems, lots of vomiting, skin rashes, eczema, frequent infections like sinus infections, all these things. And people couldn't quite make sense of it, even the specialists, other than kind of an autoimmune response was going on. And when we took away the inflammatory foods like gluten for him, things improved quite a bit, especially in the skin, right? In the things we could physically see as far as rashes and eczema. So I live that way. I live dairy free 95% of my days. Gluten free, I'm sensitive to it. I'm better off without it. And I really try and maintain that marker of sugar on a daily basis. For me personally, it's around, on a good day, 15 grams of sugar. Um, you know, 15 to 20 maybe. But if you were to do an experiment, you guys, and just play around through your day, read your labels and see, you'd probably be really surprised how much sugar is so easy to consume. And I also want to say when it comes to sugar and those who are facing diabetes or on the kind of the cusp of it, be wary as well of sugar alcohols that are added to your foods. That is now under that chemical umbrella. And when we're talking about Parkinson's, we're talking about brain functioning, we really want to be aware of those chemicals that, you know, we unknowingly will ingest or put into our body. And that can also be a disruptor, you know, to our brain chemistry. So it just sometimes can feel hard. But if you just slow it down, you read some labels and you just decide that you're going to try and do a little better, just that little bit every day can compound. So you don't have to get overwhelmed and stressed about there's just so much I have to change. It's too hard, because I think a lot of people would feel that way. It's more like maybe I'll just start to swap out my salad dressings first, and then my yogurt, and then my milk, and then my cereal, and just, one little thing at a time, and reduce what goes in it, reduce the sugar, reduce the amount of ingredients. And I think within a month or two, you might really start to feel a whole lot better.
That's really good. Now, you mentioned gluten and sugar. Does do those both contribute to inflammation?
Yeah, they do. So
Yeah.
gluten, dairy, sugar are known to be pretty inflammatory when it comes to our gut health. Now, I will say that truly every person is different. And there are some people who go, I'm fine. I don't really feel those things when I eat it. Great, good for you. If you want to try it out, some people will, for 30 days, just say, you know what, I'm going to just do this kind of reset for my body. And then I'll gradually introduce each one on its own and see if I notice a difference. Some things that can be impacted for a lot of people can be even headaches. Headaches can improve when they change their diet. Cravings absolutely will be shifting if you kind of follow those few guidelines. But it's really important when you do this, especially when you're looking at gluten-free products, to read those labels again, because just because it's gluten-free doesn't mean it's always healthy, right? There's a lot of added stuff sometimes, or sugars even hiding in those products. So it just kind of takes us back to where we're kind of over all the years of different diets out there, that Mediterranean diet, that's a great one. I work with a nutritionist at the hospital I work at, and that's kind of her go-to recommendation for people, is always saying, think of a Mediterranean diet. It's a lot of protein, fresh food, vegetables, savory food. Try that. And you
A
don't have
lot
to,
of fish.
yeah, lots of fish. We want to look at, again, when you look at your fish now, as you know better, you can do better. That's what I always say. And you want to look for, is it farm raised? Are there added dyes? When you're buying your fish, can you get wild caught fish rather? Can you look for it without the dyes? I mean, I don't really know why they decided to start putting dyes into salmon, just to make it look better. That's
Exactly. I mean,
maybe.
listen, I worked for 2 years. I mean, I was in the entertainment industry for 30 with Vinny, and we've got a whole nother shtick that we do about our years of the movie business.
Yeah.
But I had everything collapse. And on top of that, I had just been diagnosed. I was diagnosed in 2012. About 4 years, 3 years into that, I had to have open heart surgery to repair a mitral valve prolapse, which was basically like, a boo-boo compared to what other people in the ward were going through with, like, having both lungs replaced or whatever the hell they were going through. But I I ended up having to take a job at Whole Foods in the seafood department. Now, I have to be honest with you. I worked with three guys that their whole careers, and they were not. I was the oldest guy in the group as far as age, and they were amazing. I mean, the care and the pride that they took in that fish department. But you had wild sockeye salmon wild caught next to the thing that was the number one seller, which was their farm raised. And basically, they would explain to you that, yeah, Whole Foods goes through a tremendous process. It used to be right as we walked down the hallway, it would be right. You could educate yourself on all the. I mean, Whole Foods was. I don't know how. I mean, I've been there for like 3 years, but the idea that, like, somebody came in one day and said, "Is the fish organic?" And the guy behind the counter goes, "I don't know how to answer that question because I don't know what's in the ocean. I just know that the farm raised are," and they show you how the farm is done, and they go down, they clean the bottom. It's crazy. I mean, but then swordfish is $38 and as it said in the Perfect Storm movie, the price of swordfish is not the price of fish, it's the price of men who lose their lives catching that fish.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I think that, with sustainability, with all kinds of people thinking about things, I wanted to share with you because I don't know if you have this, and I think you can easily find this, or if somebody wants to go to the Parkinson's Wellness Fund.org, shilling again for the company. I would try to make this readily available, but this is a graph that sits on. My wife is gluten intolerant and dairy intolerant, although she still eats ice cream every once in a while. But
Same.
but now we go to Erewhon for this like coconut fake swirly, like, I used to get the Vinny, remember the swirly chocolate, half vanilla, half chocolate. Well, now it's made out of coconut, but it's good. And they did something with it, which means it's got to have a lot of sugar in it.
Yeah.
But this is a thing that it's called What's in Season.
Oh,
And
nice.
it shows you through the course of the year, like this is January, this is February, this is March. I think one of the difficult things that we did in this country is you want a banana, all year long, great. We'll pull them from Ecuador, and we don't know anything about, we know very little about them, but bananas don't grow in this country, if I'm correct. It's not indigenous to, we import all of our bananas.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea of, you can look at this and go, oh, well, I mean, two of my favorite things are watermelon and cherries. And they both come out around the same time, you would think, but which is around the 4th of July. I mean, they kind of have like a season. Cherries start coming out, and watermelon summer is on its way. The fruit is announcing the cycle of the calendar. But if we are in May, the last day of May, so we're going into June, cherries pop up, but they were available in May, but they're different. They're more of a whitish red cherry. They're not the Bing cherries that we're all familiar and conditioned with.
Yeah.
And then when we get to June, the Bing cherries are out, but I still don't see watermelon. But I had watermelon last, 2 days ago that was so unbelievably good. So, I mean, I don't see watermelon on here. I mean, it's weird. It's like, where does watermelon come in and go out of season? And I think
you can get it year round, really.
I know.
It doesn't disappear.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting thing. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, part of it, if you're romantic about it, part of it is it was a special, I mean, I grew up, and again, I think I'm sure your dad, I'm sure Aubrey was the same, if either the way he did or the way his parents did, where my grandmother on the Italian side of the family, the Irish, meat and potatoes. But the Italians would go, she had a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker. I mean, she had little shops, and she'd go down there and argue with the guy. The sauce is too good, Progresso, this, that, I want the, and they'd be arguing in Italian, and that's where they'd lose me. And I was just like, where's the candy aisle?
Yeah.
And I think that charm it's been replaced by convenience, but
Right. Great point, Jam.
when you have a person with Parkinson's, and again, this is why I think this is going to go into 2 episodes with Kim, but the idea of having something that's expedient, that is not causing me to have to go out and drive, or me to have to go out and walk down the aisle and worry about falling. I mean, just recently had a fall, Kim, about 3 weeks ago, where I split my chin open and had to get 2 stitches. And that's when you start to realize your mortality, when they take things away from you. And I think I had mentioned my Ironman friend who was in a severe crash, like broke his ribs, all of them on one side, scapula, clavicle, this, that, and the other thing. He was unconscious, and his wife was 3 miles behind him. They're ultimate cyclists. They were doing a fun wine tour in Napa kind of run. Mm-hmm. And he said, wow, to be this laid up, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I can't do this. And I'm like, well, I spun it on him, because I always like to say, if you can't do something, find the thing you can do and then do that.
Yeah.
Because Parkinson's people tend to go down the road of I can't and I won't, and shame and embarrassment and all this terrible stuff that we don't need. And again, I think another thing is anxiety, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that.
The idea that somebody who's incredibly able-bodied is feeling what a person. And I used to play sports. I mean, I met this guy in freshman football, nowhere near the caliber football player he was, but the idea that he can somewhat understand what a person who used to cross the threshold of the front door 1,000,000 times, and then one day his feet go, we're not going, and it's just over. And the idea that can be taken away from you. But I was going back to expediency, and I was going to the point of care for the caregiver and trying to make their lives easier. There are things out there. One we belong to is Green Chef, which is a delivery service that delivers all the stuff you need for the meals, and then
Yes.
you cook it.
So good.
And I'll
Yeah.
tell you what's really
Great.
cool about it. I had pretty much given up on cooking. When I first started my production job, I had a lot of free time in the afternoon. So I would cook dinner for my wife. She was working for DreamWorks at the time. And she would come home and there'd be a meal. Like, I cooked a meal for you. And I might be drinking wine. I might be drinking Jack Daniels for all you know, depending upon how randy I wanted to get later that night. But in fact, one of her coworkers goes like, "What did he do?" And she's like, because she was telling him, "Oh, he had chicken parmesan when I came home last night with pasta and blah, blah, blah." Or he had lemon. I love to cook lemon chicken, you know, and so. And by the way, we weren't eating very healthy then at all, other than we weren't eating fast food.
Yeah.
But the coworker goes, "You sure he's not like he's not cheating? Why would he
Like
want to
an
make?"
apology meal?
Yeah, exactly. And that happened to me another
That's
time.
funny.
That's another story. But the idea that this thing can be delivered to your door, they deliver you it's very succinct, and it shows you these recipe cards, which I've got a ton of them. And for a guy that used to cook but doesn't feel confident in his cooking skills anymore, this is it. I mean, I'm chopping, I got music going, I'm shuffling around,
Love that.
but I'm upright. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, this morning I kind of was, yesterday was a difficult day to get to the end. And so this morning Heidi had 3 garbage bags. Now, normally I would pick up 2 garbage bags with one hand and carry the recyclables with the other and go down the apartment and go into where the garbage area is. And I started to realize that, hey, you know, you don't need to take all 3 at once. That's what the old guy used to do, or the younger guy. But what you can do now is you can absolutely go one. And the reward is, and I say this, the reward is that you can get 3 times to the garbage cans. For me, that's a lot of steps.
Right.
I get a lot of walking steps in. And it's the same thing. It's like if you spin it and you go, okay, well, I'll walk the 2 miles, but in the middle of it, it's going to be airborne. They're going to make me a swirly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my little
Find a reward. Yeah, it has to
exactly.
reward.
Is that bad of me to, like, especially if it's
No.
food, but it's like,
I think that's important. You know, I think we are humans who are motivated in general by a reward. You know, that's why if you look at the way we start even with infants and children and how we teach them to do things, there's typically a reward attached. And you decide what that is. You know, it could be food related. It doesn't have to be food related. It could be even once I've got those steps in, I've taken out those trash bags, which are taunting me because I'm looking at them and I don't feel well enough to grab them and go, but I'm going to try. Maybe it's then sitting down and watching that TV show you love and get sucked in with, right? It could be that as the reward. I love that idea. And I love teaching people that when it comes to shifting mindset or shifting habits, you have to look at the environment, right? And you've got to say, like you just explained with the food, if going to the grocery store and, you know, having to deal with all that becomes too much, silver lining, we live in an age now where you can get on your phone and you can have things delivered to your door. And you know, this is something I tell my parents all the time. I'm trying still to convert my mom as the caregiver, who works all day and still, you know, comes home and has to then walk in the door and then like take on all the things that my dad needs. I try and say to her, the world is different now, Mom. You don't have to go to the grocery store yourself and waste that time. You could save time so you can get home earlier so that you can maybe to have time for yourself to go for a quick walk because her days are long. And so I'm working and I haven't quite cracked it yet because she likes the habit of going to the grocery store. For her, it's still enjoyable, but I'm trying to say routine, right? Something that you can count on, which I understand for caregivers. That in itself is important, is to say, well, everything in my life might be a little chaotic, but I can go do that one simple thing and it's always the same. But to make room for self-care as a caregiver when your days are so full and busy and you have to be giving and thinking for others, maybe making room by having food delivered saves you that extra hour that you could then walk a little or get on a treadmill or a bike or just read a book for 20 minutes to decompress. You know, I know kind of went off in a different direction there, but I think it all goes hand in hand. It's just continuously evaluating your environment, whether you are the person living with Parkinson's or you are the caregiver, the loved one nearby, and feeling like things are shifting, looking around and saying, well, if we want to keep improving with this, like you said, you know, it can be a real challenge with Parkinson's to get through the day or to get from A to B, and no one really understands that. it's hard to always have that positive mindset, but to be able to say, okay, if what I used to do isn't working, instead of fighting it or getting angry about it, what can I do to make a shift so I can still do the thing I want to do,
Yeah.
right? Or have the joy I'm looking for.
But let's stay on the reward thing for a while. I had a roommate who was a bodybuilder. I mean, he was up at 5:30 every morning. I mean, the guy, like Jam's friend, did the swim from Alcatraz. I mean, he was completely the opposite of me. And Ken and Jam and I talking about Italian men cook, right? So I would say to him, and he would, his diet was very, very strict, and he was on a vitamin regimen and everything. And I'd say, hey, I'm making lasagna on Sunday. And he would show up.
Yeah.
And he'd say, you think I'm going to pass up your lasagna? And he goes, this is my cheat day. This is my reward day. And
Right.
he also did the same thing with finances. If we were stuffing away money to save for something, he goes, look, if you're just working to put the money away, you're going to resent it. So you got to reward yourself a little. So I think that reward thing is sometimes been put away as like a childish thing, and you can rough your way through it. There's a lot of things you really, really can't rough your way through. I was a caregiver. My wife had cancer for 5 years, and that was all I lived for. But I had to take a break occasionally, and
Right.
this is all tying in, whether it be nutrition or Parkinson's, and rewarding yourself for with your steps and having your swirly. I mean, I really think that we have been rough on ourselves the past few decades, and just charging ahead and being dedicated, and you do need a glass of wine. You do need that relaxation, and you certainly need, which is bothering everybody, um, interaction with other humans. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they be very healthy, even though we're on Zoom. It's still better than not talking to each other. So we always talk about tying it all in, and I'm glad you brought up the reward thing. And you also do some online coaching. You,
So yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, I didn't mean to cut you off. You go
No,
ahead, please.
that was I was going to ask you about it.
Yeah, kind of going back to what I said to you guys in the meeting about my son and his GI problems and his health. And he was an infant. He was 6 weeks old the first time he got really sick, and he was hospitalized. It turned out it was meningitis, which in an infant, that's really scary. It turned out to luckily be the viral kind, not bacterial. But it was about 5, 6 days of us being in the hospital, with our little baby. 6 weeks old is pretty new, and we had a 3-year-old toddler at home. And that experience really stuck with me. And then from that point on, it wasn't really over, because I think his health, it's always like what came first, chicken or the egg, right? Was that experience and that amount of heavy medication he had to have the thing that disrupted his GI system and his immune system, or was he already born that way? And this was just the path that would have been anyway. But a couple of years of him constantly vomiting and constantly being sick really put me in that space of being really tired and really depleted and exhausted. And I was active. I was a mom who liked to go to the gym and do those things, but I started to feel really just inside like I was trying to do it all for everyone else, and I was missing a piece of something for myself, and always getting stuck because he was sick. I couldn't leave. I couldn't go to the gym. It's just, as a new mom, that was really hard. And I found online and home workouts and nutrition. And so I started for me. I really had fun with it. And I started to say, you know what, I can do this. I can help other people. I'm already in the helping space with my degree, what I do. And it just came really naturally. So that was about 9 years ago. And I started building an online platform, and I started my Instagram page, and I jokingly came up with a name called Kimspiration Wellness. And it just was like a fun play on words, and I didn't have any idea where it would take me. But in all these years, it's been a wonderful evolution, and I still do the work. I'm now a macro certified nutrition coach with a different company. It's called The Faster Way, and it's all about whole food nutrition and helping people balance their food. It's not just a quick diet and that's it. It includes fitness. So I get to do that. And I just have always been kind of really interested in the side of gut health, and also knowing what my dad has gone through, and just seeing the impact of, as you said, when things are taken away from you. It's just been there in my mind for the last 20 something years. My dad had lived with this disease, to say, how can I like resist getting up in the morning, even when it's early, even if it's 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. before the day starts. How can I resist the opportunity to get up and move my body for 20 or 30 minutes when I know there are people who can't and wish that they could? And that's been just the thing that keeps me going. I always say no one's cheering for you or clapping for you in the dark early hours of the morning. It's just you, right? It's you against yourself saying, can I get out of bed? Do I want to hit snooze? You know, it's those little mini choices. And I think as a daughter of someone with Parkinson's, it's always in the back of my mind. And I think most of us would be lying if we didn't admit this, that you wonder, am I next? Could this be me? Right? Like,
Yeah, or the added result of that is I have two daughters, 26 and 23. They have boyfriends. They
yeah,
are through with their college. They are, I'm sure somebody's going to get engaged pretty soon. I mean, it just, I don't know which one. And, and, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Every time I say that, I think to myself, I hear that song. Sorry, that's not Parkinson's. That's just ADD. But or ADHD. But what's interesting is you like some days you go, what did I do to fuck this up? I mean, what did I do to get myself? And this is, I saw somebody wrote on a post on Facebook about these are supposed to be the golden years of our lives,
yeah.
and I realized that, and I'm a firm believer, and people say no, but it's just like I cannot believe like all the people that the newest thing now is if you live by a golf course growing up in the 70s and the 80s, you probably have Parkinson's because of the chemicals.
And
And
did you know about my dad and the amount of time he spent in warehouses with fertilizer and chemicals? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So his family business back in South Africa, his dad started a company and he then joined, but he grew up sitting on the bags of fertilizer and playing in the warehouses and then worked there, from his early 20s. And there is a connection that I know at this point that people have been exposed to chemicals like that. Makes perfect sense about the golf course, and it's coming out more and more. And it makes me mad, right? When I think about that, and you just wonder, like, could we have changed the path? Could we have resisted this? But you can't change any of it, right? You can only say, what do I do now? How do I work
Well,
with it?
that's true. You can't change anything that's happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, I went through, in Northern California and growing up in Pleasanton, I went through malathion spraying. Now, this was for mosquito abatement, but if you ever watched Apocalypse Now, when the helicopters come over in the night and it's like, and the music's playing, and they're, got the guns going, all that stuff. That's what it would be like minus the guns. All of a sudden you'd hear
Yeah.
coming in, and you're like looking around and you see these red lights blinking. And they had, see if I can show this for the camera. They had like arms sticking off of there was a helicopter used to spray, which would be like an airplane would go and do that.
Yeah.
They would just go right over the house. I mean, you get up the next morning, there's a sticky residue on your car.
Wow.
And it's sort of like, well, how much of that is in my lungs? And how is it? It's okay that you'll never be able to get up on your roof and clean up, but the next rain season will take care of it. I'm like, well, what will then do to the water system? And where will what's happening to the
Yeah.
and who are you? Are you Monsanto? I mean, and so you think about this, there's not enough questions to ask. And this is where you mentioned earlier about the conditioning of people. I grew up in a house that had hard water, and my mom used to bitch about it all the time because it made her skin feel really dry. When I got married, I had a wife who takes good care of her body, her skin, all that stuff. And she said, we had an option to get a soft water thing, which was just basically salt or some type of salt. And then it became, well, we're getting a lot of feedback from the counties that they're going to no longer be able to sell like rock salt or whatever it was for the purposes of, softening water. Mm-hmm. But my skin was never as good as it was when I had soft water. Now, and this is where I think this is what I mean, you can almost predict what's coming next if you put some time into it. Now, and I saw it at Erewhon, and I've seen the commercials on Instagram of that Erskine or Eskin shower head that is supposed to like, but they show like severe psoriasis and all this stuff
Oh yeah.
that's happening from the hard water. I'm like, I'm 60 years old, and yes, I have, my face is starting to remarkably starting to peel, like these things, just like this bad skin. And I go to the dermatologist, like, we'll burn that off for you. We'll oh, it's cancer, let's take it off, you know, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the idea is, it's what's being marketed to us. Eggs are great. Eggs will kill you. Cholesterol high. Have eggs. Eggs are the only protein that you can count on.
Right.
Like, it's like this stuff. It's like I always say, like when these smart ass politicians come out and make a bold statement that we all know is a freaking lie, and then you cut to like 10 years and they're going, yeah, that's what, and it's like when did you flip sides? Nobody's held accountable in this country for the things that are the innocent, the invisible killers, or the invisible, or it's like, don't look over here. Look over here at the shiny object. Don't look over here as we pour the chemicals on the grass.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And you know what? Actually, it's funny you say that, because as the work comes in, like we have to constantly be, and it's hard. It's also hard to know, right? The right source of information and what is true, what is not, what's just another gimmick to try to get you in the thing. But there's a company based out of LA that I've been working with now, and I love their mission because it's all about trying to create better products for our bodies that aren't filled with the chemical disruptors, because this particular couple went through 14 years of infertility unexplained, to the point that they had surrogates in their family carry the babies to have their children who they have, and they walked away from some very high-powered jobs that they had, and they had some really great connections to start this company. And it's not like a huge catalog, but it's simple. It's like the skincare that they have, the bar of soap that they sell, some of the supplements like a protein powder and a electrolyte drink, are all done with the intention of not adding more chemicals to our body. And it's these simple things that you got to
What's the name of the company?
Called Hugh and Grace. You guys can look them up. I'm an advocate with that company, and they're wonderful. They've been around for about 4 years, but
They do cereals?
They don't do any cereals, no.
Because there's another couple that started the cereal, which I really like. It's called 7 Sundays.
Oh, I've seen that one. Yeah.
And it's like gluten-free, sugar-free,
yes.
fun-free.
Yes.
But
fun-free,
you know,
right.
the idea is that it's really, I enjoy it, but it's like $7.99 a bag at Sprouts.
Oh,
or you can go to Amazon and get it for about $5 cheaper, but you got to buy a 3-pack.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Yeah, see, that's the thing that gets me going. It's like, oh my gosh, we got to pay either $3 for a box of like Lucky Charms, or you almost at $10 just for the thing that is better for you, right? That's the frustration.
Cereal is a perfect example of how far they can push it.
Totally.
When we were kids, I remember like Count Chocula was the introduction of chocolate flavored cereal. Then it became, you know,
marshmallows, by the way.
Marshmallows. Ooh, yeah. I
right.
mean, what's that doing in a breakfast cereal? And then there was, you know, Captain Crunch was ripping the roof of your mouth when you were eating it, because it was like little shards of glass. And then, and I loved it, by the way. But then it became like Chips Ahoy, or Chips, where the Keebler elves were actually baking cookies, and that was your cookie simulated. Right. And people go, well, it's not really a cookie. It's just like a little, you know, like a scone or a bit, but it's conditioning you to think less of that. We should go, hey, you guys, you've gone too far with the cereal in the, you know, now they've got steak flavored, salmon flavored breakfast cereal, you know. Yeah, I made that last part up.
Here's going back to some of the food stuff. I want to make sure I get this in for the breakfast part, because I think that it does sometimes feel hard, right? It's like, if you just think about what savory breakfast can you have? If you look at some other countries and what they serve for breakfast, you're thinking savory. You're thinking maybe it is eggs. And eggs, by the way, are not bad for your cholesterol. I mean, they are a good source of protein. But savory breakfast, something that isn't high in sugar. And if you're going to want to have the sugary thing, maybe a little bit of whatever, a muffin or a croissant or something, have it last, but have your protein first.
Right.
Get some vegetables in there first, because that'll help.
And oh, you froze up.
Your glucose and your sugar and your insulin, so you're not spiking. Oops, I froze up.
Yeah, you're good now. You're back. Yeah, I was going to say two notes on getting sidetracked is It's funny, if you look at the way a plate is served, let's say you have asparagus, rice, a nice piece of organic, whole, grass-fed piece of chicken,
Yeah.
maybe some mashed potatoes. If you'll notice that it's the reverse of the way a grocery store is. A grocery store, generally all the healthy products are on the outside perimeter and everything.
Oh yeah.
Junk, Coca-Cola and all that stuff is in the center. And we gravitate towards the center. When they serve you a plate, they're serving you your protein first, and your carbs are all around the outside. But people eat the carbs first, and then they move their steak and they get the mashed potatoes, and it's really strange conditioning, because even the way somebody plates a food at a very nice restaurant could be suggestive of something that that they're either subconsciously or consciously selling. Somebody's selling you something. And to go back to that hard water thing, what they were selling was a spigot, not a spigot, a shower head that, for all intents and purposes, I can't figure out how it works, but it eliminates like chlorine, hard water deposit. And I'm like, hard water has been around forever, and there's always been an argument of, if you're putting too much salt into the ground, that does damage to the ecosystem. But the idea that these guys are going to basically give you a shower head for $185, or you can buy it on Instagram slash to 90, whatever. And I can't, I mean, and these commercials or these ads are so well written that you're engaged in it, because it keeps teasing you like, get 52% off our rate. And then it's 52% off when you buy 8 of those fire blankets at $50 a blanket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or this, and they're all, I'm not bashing the product. I'm just saying that this is, the conditioning is to get you to think away so they can sell you something. And that's nothing new. That's marketing.
Exactly. And that people are always going to be prompted to take action based on one of two things, either pain or pleasure. So if you are looking to resolve the pain points, you're going to want it, right? Or you're seeking something that brings you pleasure, you're going to want it. So that's what we're constantly battling, and we're getting so much more input on a daily basis because of our smartphones, because of how fast everything's moving. And so the minute we have this conversation, my phone's listening to me right now. I guarantee I'm going to have some ads pop up, right? Or more content pop up on my social media based on the things we just talked about. And it keeps filling the funnel. So you've got to, and this is the one thing I also want to say when we're talking about self-care and caregiving and living with Parkinson's, is that it's important to be connected. It's important to have your sources of information, but it's also really important to know when you are getting too much input and when it's okay to slow it all down and to say, I need a timeout. I need to slow down how much I'm consuming online. I need to maybe not be Googling or using AI or Instagramming, consuming and absorbing so much, because it can overwhelm your whole system. It can bring your mental health down even. And so creating those barriers, not barriers, the parameters around how much time are you allowing yourself to watch the news or to scroll or to consume stuff is really important. And maybe you set a reminder on your phone that kicks you out of Instagram after you've hit whatever timeline it is you want. That happens. I have one on my phone. It says you've got 5 minutes left. You've reached your max for the day. And then it sets me a reminder, hey, it's bedtime soon, wind down, and kicks me out. I have to do that. Otherwise, my brain will just get absorbed in. So that's just
but
kind
there's
of
a thing called the circadian rhythm that should be doing that for us. But we're all like using our, like my wife got real militant about it, and basically she's tried a lot of those things. Like we try to turn the electronics off by 10. I do not sleep with my phone in the room. She does not. She does with hers because she meditates.
Yeah, perfect.
We try not to eat past a certain time. She's really, reluctant to eat. I, on the other hand, like we sat down for dinner, it was 9 o'clock last night, but we were also having tilapia and jasmine rice and, this vegetable kind of chili spicy medley. So I didn't think it was like heavy, like a steak or a hamburger. Or there was not a lot of we don't eat a lot of bread. We don't even have bread in the house.
Right.
But I would love to devise a program that could be on the Parkinson's Wellness fund.org. And if people want to reach you, can they reach you through that address, like to talk to you or find out about practice?
I'm sure If they're interested, yes, I'm sure Russell and Amy will then forward and connect it to me, which is perfectly fine. If someone wants to directly reach me, the best way is probably to go on my Instagram account. You know, I'm on there daily, so I'll see it. And they can find me on there. It's at Kimspiration Wellness, is the handle. And I'm always happy to, you know, help people problem solve in any way, whether it's as simple as, you know, needing some resources or needing some direction with nutrition and fitness. There is something for everyone. And I always say to people, you know, we put a lot of emphasis on working out and needing to be active in X amount of hours or minutes in a day. And that's all true. But I really think the first step is in the kitchen. The first step is what we said in the beginning of this call, which is just start to read your labels. Start to really, if you struggle with a sugar addiction, get it out the house. So when you sit down to watch the show, the natural habit is to go grab the thing. You'll notice very quickly, oh, I grabbed and it wasn't there. I had to do something different. Maybe you made yourself some herbal tea. Maybe you decided to make some like chickpeas in the air fryer and munch on those. That can be crunchy and delicious. You know, little things that you can start to do. But I would love for people to reach out and connect with me. And I know there's a lot of different things that come up for people in this space, whether it is the person living with Parkinson's or the family members, caregivers. And so however I can help support people or get them connected to the next thing they may need, that's something I always love to do. And I am excited about this golf day. It's been a work of many years of love and labor from Russell's intention and Amy and how it's grown. And I don't feel like I can take much credit for it. I try my best to spread the word, but you know, it's their vision. And because of their vision, this is now in existence with the Parkinson's Wellness Fund. And this podcast is an incredible extension of that. And it's really been so great to talk to you both today. And I'm so appreciative of you having me here and taking the time.
Yeah, well, you know, what we want to do is exactly that. We want to be an adjunct
Yeah.
to Russell's to the Parkinson's Wellness Fund.org, and provide services like you. I mean, pretty much everybody we've had on has some sort of business that will benefit not just Parkinson's people, but just everyone to have better health. And I have a little bit of a spooky small world story.
Yeah.
I know Sarah and Ben.
You do? Oh my gosh. That's so cool because they are just the best.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I was around when they were converting, when she was at USC. By the way,
Yes.
for everybody, these are the owners of Hugh and Grace. They named their company after their kids.
Yep.
And they call them their miracle children because it wasn't until they got well, you know, that they were starting to figure out maybe, you know, the infidelity was caused by our lifestyle. And now they have this huge UV RV, I mean, that says Hugh and Grace on the side, and they travel around the country. They are just a great couple. They're very sincere and very dedicated in what they do. And I just wanted to give them a little plug because I never thought about intersecting them in this. And maybe I can get them on Jam. And
I think we do. You guys need them on. And you know, as we were talking about all these things, it's so important. For example, that protein powder I mentioned from Hugh and Grace, when we're talking about Parkinson's patients needing protein, it's vegan, it's gluten-free, it has no sugar in it, which is a big one when you compare it to other products out there, right? The fillers, the additives,
What's
the
it called?
skincare product. It's called Triple Boost. And it's wonderful. I'll send you guys my link after. I'll just send it on email, and then you can go take a look at the site. But Sarah and Ben are fantastic. They are incredible resources. Yeah, maybe next year for the golf tournament, we can get them wrapped in as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, here's an interesting thing. I know we're trying to cut this to an hour, and we're kind of running long, but
already.
But that's why I said I think this is really a part two, and maybe part two is we bring Ben and Sarah in, and then we have on our side Kim, so it's like you know, the panel or something like that. We kind of go back. I don't know how you set that up on this machine, but I lost my train of thought. It's just a Parkinson's moment.
You were talking with the golf tournament and maybe Ben and Sarah, and I mean here we are. They know nothing about this, and we're already volunteering for a bunch of stuff. But I just want to I wanted to let Kim know that.
Oh, I know what it was. I went on a bike outing with a group in Southern California. I think it's called Southern California Parkinson's Riders or something. And, we were just going around the Rose Bowl. And one time around the Rose Bowl was 3 miles, the parking area and everything. And then, so we were chatting. I was with this guy, Matt Krantz, who's a great guy. He runs the Southern California LA chapter of it. There's a group that does it out of Irvine, and I think they just had their thing about a month ago, and they raised $450,000 in one day.
Wow.
For 700 riders or something like that. Or I think it was, I forget how many people. But point is, he and I were talking, and he said something that I thought was so profound. And he said, it's not going to be a doctor or a chemist or, a scientist that's going to, really find the cure. It's going to be us, the people that have it. And what's funny is you get all these people talking about what it's like to have Parkinson's, and they don't have Parkinson's. And I'm like, you can go as far as you want to the door, but you can't go in.
Yeah.
And when I would box a lot, which I think is another great form of for both the cognitive as well as the physical for Parkinson's folks, is this guy who was the first guy to greet me when I came to the boxing class, and he walked right up to me and he said, "Hi, I'm Bob." And I said, "Hi, Bob." And he goes, "Welcome to the club of exclusive membership that nobody wants to join." And I thought, it's true, because you literally, when you join this club, there's only 1 million people in the United States that have it. And the fact is, currently, and unless we can figure out what, the biomarkers are or whatever, what triggers it, we're going to be seeing more than 1 million. It'll be 1.2 million, then it'll be 1.5 million, then it'll be 2 million, then it'll be worldwide 20 million. And it's like, why is there, I know these answers, and it's a much deeper and argumentative political discussion, but you're wiping out people who you perceive to be old. But in this world, when you have a guy like Michael J. Fox, who I use as an example all the time, at 30, and he's now 61 or 62, I think, he's now had Parkinson's longer than he hasn't.
Right.
And I think that people, I ask people to donate anything, just, $5, $50, and what Joe, my cycling friend, was saying is, he's like, when you see a company that comes across and says, we have 85 to 90% of our money goes right into the group. There's obviously some monies that have to be, but Russell and Amy don't get salaries. They're CEOs of a company that don't get paid. And that's fine by them. They want to grow the company. It's not about their egos.
And talk about where the donations go. It's great. We support everybody who's looking for a cure, but we're talking about an organization that wants you to have an easier life now.
Today.
And I don't know anyone else who's doing that. And while I can't speak for the decision process, nor do I want to, when you donate, it goes directly to someone who's suffering from Parkinson's and needs a boost, needs a help, like you said, Jim, needs a cane. I know we're running over, but it's not a bad place. It's not a bad place to leave off. Just praising the company that sponsors us and asking people to go to parkinsonswellnessfund.org, take a look at what they're doing, and hopefully you'll want to contribute. Kim,
and also
so much.
Also, hang on, Vin, before you sign us off. I would also implore people is that the word? I don't know if that doesn't sound right. I would urge people to donate, because the list, our list of people that are asking for help is just going to get continually bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's just a handful of us that are constantly asking people, corporations, whatever, to donate. And it's one of those diseases that, and if you don't know anybody that has Parkinson's, then you don't think about it. But the minute you do know somebody that's Parkinson's, it changes your life.
Absolutely.
Whether you're the caregiver or the person with Parkinson's. And I want to believe that it can, with a lot of hard work and constantly checking yourself up, can actually, as my wife said to me, could be a blessing. And I know that sounds hard to say, and I guarantee you there's a bunch of people that just went, hey, but the idea that, I can't do this anymore. It's not what you can't, it's what you can. And you can choose to live your life any way you want. You can be miserable with it, or you can try to be enjoying what you have to enjoy, and finding new. It's about exploration, and people want to help. And so don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid, even if you're a caregiver, don't be afraid to ask for help, because Vinny can attest to that from a different disease. But people would say, hey, Vin, we've been watching you. You haven't returned phone calls. We know you're slammed. You're not returning emails. You're running on empty 6 months ago. So go out, get a beer with Jim and go watch a movie. You love movies. And for that 2 hours, that friend has done something that nobody else could do.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And so I spoke at the last golf tournament, Kim. I don't know if you were there. I spoke about the importance of friends in this environment. And, people say as you get older, your friends just for no other reason die off. I mean, it's like, it's not that they're mad at you. They just don't exist anymore in the physical world. And so the idea that these people want to help, but they don't know how to ask, like they don't know what is needed. And once you give them a need, they will be around for a long time. And it helps the caregiver to have some friends that'll take the reins with somebody like me. And, and I'm pretty able. I mean, I'm not, in a bad situation yet, but, life is an experience. And so if you don't experience it, you missed out.